Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Choujin X Chapter 21. When we last left our heroes, Tokio tried to make his escape, not yet knowing what had happened to Azuma, but on his way out, he caught the scent of blood. And as he went to investigate, he found Azuma bisected. He went into a full-on rage, attacked Ume, and thanks to, I think, a newfound armor power, just like activated by his rage, was able to survive Paper Trip very easily. However, Ricardo activated his ability called Ricardo Terror Knight, where he becomes your biggest fear, which for Tokio is Azuma's dead head and like a mountain of corpses below it. It was some creepy ass imagery. It was some great imagery. Tokio is knocked out, and it seems like all hope is lost. But then Ellie steps in, smoking out Ricardo's ass, and about to start a fight with him and Ume. But there's someone else who's arrived. This turbaned man beneath the crescent moon. So with that said, let's dive right on into Chapter 21, A Cloaker. And we open on, it's the plaza where Azuma died. Or died, again. Whether or not he's dead is an interesting question. But you know, you see the statue that Ume was sitting under, and it's from the ground up. Almost like where Azuma's eyes would be. And we have this image of a fly flying towards Azuma's upper half. As a narrator says, dreams, hopes, righteousness, persistence, fury, justice, aesthetics, love. And the fly closes in on Azuma, and I don't like bugs. I think I should clarify that. So seeing that thing land right on his eyeball, that's fucked up. I don't like it. Not here for this. And it sort of walks on his eye. But also it looks like something happens to his eye. Like, at first it just seems black. And now it looks like there's like a defined pupil and iris situation now. Like, maybe he's coming back to himself. As the narrator goes on, Choujin are bequeath the form and power most becoming to them. And we cut to a flashback with these, like, 3 fighter jets flying in the sky. As a very young Azuma, a particular type of worldview, a complex, as it were, an Azuma watches so cool, gives rise to a particular Choujin nature. And we have these 3 images with that line: knives, a suit of armor, and a gun. And then we cut back to that moment at the beginning of the series where both Tokio and Azuma had the syringes. Some say that those without such a complex, I mean, images of like tanks riding over a battlefield now, cannot become a Choujin. And we cut again to Azuma's face. And yep, he's up. He is up and he's raring to go. But first off, this whole complex thing, a particular type of worldview, a complex as it were, gives rise to a particular Choujin nature. Some say that those without such a complex cannot become a Choujin. Is that referring to a specific, like all Choujin have a particular worldview? Or is it a Choujin requires any specific hard worldview? I don't know. It's a really weird thing there, because I don't know what that worldview the narrator will be referring to. Either way, we see this like energy emanate from Azuma's eyes as they bulge, and it reaches out to his lower half, connects there. We see his arm, his like severed hands start to raise up. Thus, the boy. And like honestly, there's just some real art shit here. Like I talked before about just how like something about Choujin X, something about either the lack of a steady release schedule, the freedom to have as many pages as he wants per chapter, is really just letting Ishida go all out here. Because like it just looks fucking cool. The boy must have had. And interestingly, there's these chains. I noted them on the previous page, that his hands had chains, like cuffs on them. But I have no memory of Azuma being cuffed before he died. And it's also tied to his neck, Which is weird because I know he did not have a collar on his neck. He had the necktie on his neck. So what exactly is going on with the chains there? Are they like a metaphor somehow? I don't know. The boy must have had, he breaks the chains anyway, such a complex. And then we see, it's unclear if this is still meant to be Azuma, because the trio of combatants, Ellie, Ume, and Ricardo, who, actually, a moment on Ricardo, because I commented briefly last chapter on how he had these sorts of new tentacles on his head, right, after using Terranite. But a closer look here, they look like feet. And, like, maybe it's just, like, Terranite going back into his head, and maybe there's still some feet kicking from that monstrosity. But I don't know. That's a weird little detail there. Ishida. Where are we going with that one? Either way, everyone sees our Scarf Man. And Ricardo comments, "What? There's another one? How do you want to handle this one, Ume?" And we get a front-facing shot on Ricardo. And those are definitely feet. But the guy just throws something at Ricardo. And, my man got his head severed. And I mean, Azuma just died and came back, so like, maybe he's fine. But, my man, no more head. No more head. He still has his tentacles, or his lower tentacles. But okay. As both Ume and Ellie look on in shock, Ume calls Ricard, but she's cut off as the guy jumps at her. She readies her knives and throws them. A Choujin's. Oh no, this is the narrator, I think. The same narrator from earlier. A Choujin's, but Scarf Guy just dodges out of the way from the knives as Ume thinks he's fast. Abilities. And now he's right behind Ume and just starts whacking her. Like utterly pure physical power, which this is Azuma. You can see very briefly in the bottom right Azuma in this panel. You can see the same spiked choker that the revived Azuma was wearing. This is Azuma, definitely Azuma. Just going to, but like, you know, all this time I've been assuming, especially since the hyena conversation and everything, that Azuma would be a beast type Choujin. Right, carrying on with the vulture and lion metaphor from the beginning of the series, he would be the lion to Tokyo's vulture, right? But this seems all physical attack. And to be fair, you know, sort of physical capabilities are sort of a thing with Azuma, being the kind of guy to jump in and like, you know, start fights to save people, that sort of thing. It fits him, but it's definitely a thing. It's definitely something to look at. As Ume starts to panic, can't use paper trip in time. There's this like swish sound effect. I think as Azuma like draws a blade or something. Anyway, Choujin's abilities, especially a morph type Choujin's strength, depends largely on their original physical capabilities. And there's this sploosh of blood that flies up. As Azuma kicks through Ume. In other words, the boy, and this just got like, this got a lot. This got intense really fast. It's like Ume's like coughing up blood through her face mask. Has a certain knack for fighting, which of course we know from their backstory, his and Tokyo's. And Ume just hits the ground in front of someone. I'm not sure who those two folks are. It might just be some random passerby getting caught up in a Choujin fight. And Ume just looks up, defeated and or dead. And Ellie is just, are you Higashi? And Tokyo wakes up there. What? Okay. My best guess is that Azuma is in no condition to control his powers right now. He is just full-on rage machine, because right there, what's happened here, and I feel like these Choujin videos are very much just me being shocked at various things. That's just been the vibe for the past 3 chapters. But the thing that Azuma's doing here, is he's got in his hand, and he's skewered our girl Ellie. However, and Ellie's just, obviously, she just got fucking skewered by this boy. And Tokyo's just, Azu. And there's this moment of panic as Tokyo is starting to process what's going on. And like recognize that's Azuma with his arm in his friend. And the fact that that's Azuma, or maybe he hasn't even fully processed that as Azuma. The Azu line is just a response to Ellie saying his last name. I'm not sure Tokyo's put the two together. Because he's back in the same rage mode, or the same rage state, not full-on beastification like we saw last chapter, but that same sort of anger that we saw then. As he rushes at Azuma, Ellie! And he runs at him. As Ellie's just screaming there. And Azuma, without even turning, just kicks Tokyo. Does not kick through him. Which right now I have to clarify. But he does kick him. Sends him flying craters. Tokyo coughs up blood. His hand is like up in the air, streaking blood or something. And Azuma just stands there and twitches. Oh, and it's Momoma down to like stop him. To save the day. And she just crushes him with her strength. So, I have my mistrust of Yamato Mori, but I do think Momoma is one of the good ones. So good for her, saving everyone. And then Simon's also coming in. Neither the paper cutter nor the tentacled one. Well, yeah, is he saying that neither of them are there or something? Because, yeah, they're both kind of dead right now. As he throws his card down. Pierced viscera. Loaned sword. And Maiko jumps out of the way as all those swords come crashing down on Azuma. And one of the duo calls out, Ellie, Kurohara. But Simon stops her. Momoma, him first. And Azuma is getting back up. He's, the swords aren't doing much damage to him. And she thinks, raise. Hold on, what happens here? So Simon calls before he can, and she goes to kick him, I think, and then hold on. Okay, so either she goes to kick him, and then he, with the scarf, drags her over? Either this is meant to be a speed line sort of thing, or Maiko is seeing herself there. That's some, Azuma's a shape morph type Choujin was what the narrator said. He couldn't possibly be a shapeshifter, could he? No, he was just some, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be reading there. I just don't know. But no, because we see later, or on the next page, Simon calls, behind you! And Azuma's there, getting her in a chokehold, still wearing the mask. So no, this is not meant to be a transformation or something. But it looks like he breaks her neck. Which, I guess she can just raise out of it, but still, she falls there, as everyone calls it, Momoma! And Simon readies his next move, Kurakushi, which is another card sword thing, as he thinks, damn it, what kind of Choujin are you? And it's more like a lightning sword attack thing. But Azuma just dashes out of the way. And he reveals the sort of Wolverine blade out of his hand, as Simon just can only mutter out, a blade? Before Azuma has slit his throat. Good lord, this chapter is just fucking brutal. Okay, it's a sort of brutality that's so many have died here, they're gonna be fine, they can all sort of, heal out of it. We're not killing almost, the entire main cast except for Tokio, Ellie, and Sandek, and Azuma, I guess, right here. And the no mask. Still, we're not killing off a good chunk of the cast right now. That's not happening. But Simon falls, bleeding out. And we see, I think this is Ricardo. I think, because we see like the two of the 4 tentacles. And remember, 2 of the tentacles stayed on his body. So, I think this is his severed head or the corpse that's been severed. And then we see, Maiko with her neck broken and Simon with his throat slit. Ugh. And Ellie, skewered. And someone's face staring Azuma down. I don't think it's Tokio, but it might be. That's Azuma? But Azuma was just... Okay, so he turned into a Choujin? No, but if Azuma would never, not for any reason, and we have the image of those weird little chain cuffs that we saw on Azuma's corpse that he was not wearing when he fought Ume. As Azuma calls Tokyo, and the narrator goes on, however, the boy also lacked something monumentally important. And Azuma just points at him. Fight me. And Tokyo's, why? To be continued. Okay. So before I talk about what the fuck just happened, let's talk about the monumentally important thing. Because my gut's telling me it's something about... I'm trying to work out what it is. What defining factor does everyone except for Azuma have that allows them to keep in control? And I don't know what it is. It's not just having a worldview, because a worldview, supposedly, according to the narrator's theory, is what creates a Choujin. So what exactly are they referring to? What thing is Azuma lacking? I mean, a sense of self-control is the obvious thing. But it feels like there's something mental that's causing the lack of self-control while in Choujin form, is how I'm kind of reading this. But I don't know. This is a weird little thing. Okay. Well, we'll deal with that next chapter. Let's talk about the carnage here. Because, everyone dies this chapter. Assuming, like I said, it's a sort of moment where so many people have died that, it's gonna get undone somehow. Probably just by, them raising or something. But that doesn't really stop the brutality. Because, Ricardo gets decapitated. Ume gets the shit kicked out of her, and then she's kicked through. Ellie gets stabbed through the chest by his hand. Maiko gets her neck snapped. Simon has his throat slit. It's just a brutal 30 pages. And no one does this like Sui Ishida. No one does just the pure brutality of everything like Sui Ishida. This is just gruesome. And it's still really, really good. This was edge of your seat reading right here. I don't know. And not to get back onto more thematic thing, the chains are so weird, right? It's late at night, my meds are off, I'm gonna ramble, but the chains are so weird. What's the deal there? Because he's not... I'm gonna I know he was wearing the necktie. Even in the beginning of the chapter, he's still wearing that necktie. It's an interesting design. Most neckties don't have little rings. And that ring, you could argue, clearly becomes the ring. No, not really. I thought maybe that circle was part of the part of the chain that comes down to the neck, and it's not. No. But, he's definitely not wearing that choker. And I don't think he's wearing those cuffs. Let me look back at his fight in 19. So I don't remember that at all. No, looking at the Give Me Back My Friend panel, when he starts to fight Ume, his wrists are clear. There's nothing on those. So, but also, like, you know, if the chains stayed to the resurrection scene, we could call it a metaphor, right? But he's still clearly wearing that choker, that chain choker, when he fights Ume, which means it's part of the real world, which means when he fully Choujin-fied, he gained these chains. So that has to be relevant somehow. And it's important, I think, that, like, you know, in Tokio's little what the fuck is going on page 29, we have a third of that page devoted to a shot of the wrist. And we still don't know what the deal is there. But there's no way that's not important, you know? There has to be something. I don't know. It's the sort of thing that makes you want to, you know, even beyond all the carnage, all the fist pumping, holy shit. Not really fist pumping, but the gasping, holy shit, violence here. That's the thing that, like, keeps me engaged. These sort of, like, I think it's a theme. I think there's a theme here. I think whenever, like, the chains, he's chained by something, you know, we didn't really spend enough time with Azuma to set up a whole, he's jealous of Tokyo's powers, but, like, that's, might be there. Like, we didn't really explore it, but it was definitely a possible reading of some of Azuma's earliest actions. So maybe that is where we're going with this. That it's, you know, I've been rereading Blue Exorcist, because, like, the chapter, the series is coming back on Sunday. I can't fucking wait for that. But, you know, the Rin and Yukio fight of One Cloth, that's, like, based on their on, like, Yukio's jealousy for Rin, and Rin's sort of jealousy for Yukio, but, like, largely Yukio just being so jealous of his brother and just, like, needing to get all those feelings out. And, like, is that what's going on here? Is it jealousy that's powering Azuma? Because that's fucked up! He just killed 5 people! Maybe. I mean, again, they can raise, possibly, but still! Good lord! Good lord! Look at all this! So I don't know. Again, the recurring problem with Choujin, I will say, is that, like, I want to know when I will get more information. Will it be in a week? Will it be in a month? Will it be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 10 weeks? I don't know. I want to know. It's because, like, I need to know what happens next. I need a time frame for when next will happen. And God, this chapter was a trip. You know, it's this whole arc has just been, you know, balls to the wall kind of thing. And I just don't know. I just don't know where we're going with any of this. But we'll just have to wait and see. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!